homosexuals as long as you've had mankind.
Well, no, but that's not responding to the question. What should be done?
Neal, when Protestants ran this country, and I'm not a Protestant, but when they ran this country, they didn't round up the homosexuals, and you didn't have to have a police state.
I'm asking you what should be done about them now.
I think that it is perfectly healthy and normal for people to object to the lifestyles of people they disagree with. It is actually beneficial to society to say what you like and don't like.
Now, what if somebody? What if somebody
round them up? He just predicted that God's justice may be vented, just like Thomas Jefferson said, "I tremble."
Now, wait a minute. Let's think this thing through now. Pat Robertson says that because of the rampant homosexual lifestyle, that Orlando, in the gay rights of the gay days, that Orlando may be hit with hurricanes, and that the homosexuals in this country may bring upon themselves tornadoes and terrorist bombs and even maybe a meteor. Now,
that's what Protestants believe.
Well, now, wait a minute, but let's carry this forward a little bit. Let's say that Pat Robertson is much more powerful than he is. Let's say that he is
Why? Why say that?
We're hypothesizing. Can you go with me on this? Let me just put it in my terms. If I believe that homosexuals are going to be the target of a meteor sent by God, or a tornado or a terrorist bomb, and if I have the power and ability to do so, I'm going to make sure that there's no homosexuals anywhere close to me. When the
you are distorting what the man said. The man says that you will be the target and Orlando will be the target.
Well, if I'm living next door to a homosexual and he gets hit by a meteor, I'm not going to be sitting in my house saying, "What the hell was that?" Okay? I'm going to be smoking too. So I'm going to want to get that homosexual out of my neighborhood. And if I have the power of government, well, maybe that's one of the things that I would use it for. So, but thanks for the spirited defense, ma'am. We'll be back. Neal Boortz. This is News Talk 750. You're listening to WSB.
Paul says investigators are trying to nail down the evidence before deciding how to prosecute. The Southern Baptists have changed the basic statement of their beliefs to read that a woman should submit graciously to her husband. The move came at the Baptist annual meeting where marriage was defined as a lifetime union of one man and one woman.
Now, they are at this point accused. Okay, so we'll stick a couple of little gratuitous alleged comments in here. Speaking of alleged, I'm going to divert for a second. Belinda, do you remember, and Royal, do you remember a story sometime in the last year, where there was this girl somewhere out there in Cobb County who was fined by a judge for failure to wear her seatbelt? And she had earlier been ticketed or fined for that, and then got caught a second time, and she was kind of a real little snot in front of it. Remember that vaguely?
Didn't she go on the air with us?
I don't remember.
Was this in protest maybe to the suspended license for teenage drivers, something like that? New legislation?
I don't know.
She was complaining that she didn't know about her license being suspended.
It's something. I vaguely remember, but you remember Anna Schachner. Anna Schachner, the teacher out there at the Cab College.
Yes.
That in her English 101 class, she required volunteer service with an organization that she approved of before her students could pass English 101. And we gave her a hard time on it. And then Anna Schachner, she may still be looking for an attorney to sue me. I don't know. But she started looking around town to see if she could get an attorney that would sue me because of the thing. Evidently, this girl and her mother are starting to make the rounds in Atlanta, and they, too, are looking for an attorney to sue me. I don't even remember it, but, isn't that amazing? They're looking...
Sue you for what?
Who knows? But evidently, but they're... I say this because I can't remember their names, but if you know who they are and you're an attorney and you want to take me on, you might want to call them up and solicit your, and offer your help. Gee, I wonder how many different people there are looking for attorneys to sue. But anyway, back to the story. And I guess I'm just trying to avoid talking about this because it upsets me so deeply. This is James Byrd Jr. James Byrd, he's 49 years old. He's black. That's essential to the story, or it wouldn't have been germane. Last Saturday night, he was walking home from a niece's bridal shower in Jasper, Texas. Walking home. He's 49 years old in Jasper. It's a small town. I know exactly where it is. It's about 100 miles north of Houston and Vidor. It's not too far from Texas A&M, where I went to school. And James Byrd was disabled. Hadn't worked for quite a number of years because of some problems. But he was walking home from his niece's bridal shower. And Lawrence Russell Brewer, Sean Allen Berry, and John William King, two 23-year-olds and a 31-year-old, driving a pickup truck, stopped to give him a ride. They put him in the back of the pickup truck. Well, they'd been drinking. And apparently they're associated with some white supremacists gangs. Now, bear in mind, most of the people that you will encounter that are associated with white supremacist groups are what we white people call white trash. They are at the absolute bottom of the pecking order when it comes to white folks. They're garbage. And they know they're garbage. They know that they're trash. And so they sit around saying, well, we're not too hot, but at least we're better than black people. Just scum. Before the night was out, they ended up taking a chain and tying James Byrd to the back of that pickup truck and dragging him to death down a rural road in Texas. Dragging him to death. His head, neck, and right arm were actually torn off of the rest of his body and found a mile down the road from the rest of his body. He'd been dragged about 2 miles on a narrow asphalt road, apparently by these 3 pieces of scum. They've been arrested now, and they will be charged. And I've been telling you that people ought to die the same way their victims died. And these 3, after they're convicted and sentenced, if there is any justice in the world, and believe, one good thing is that Texas loves to execute murderers, and I cannot wait. I hope I'm still on the air. Probably won't be, but hope I'm still on the air the day these guys are executed so that we can pop a cork on a bottle of champagne in here and drink to their death. But after they're convicted and sentenced to death, and after they get through with their miserable little appeals process, they should be drugged behind pickup trucks. And I have one, folks, and I volunteer it right now. They should be drugged behind pickup trucks down a gravel road until they're dead. And the other 2, the first person should be drugged while 2 of them are in the back of the pickup truck watching him go through his agony. And then you take the next one and you drag him while the guy that was driving the pickup truck watches him, and you save the driver for last. And you drag them until their bodies are in pieces. And get every other white supremacist jerk you can from that area of the country and have them line the road so that they can watch these people being killed. It is just such an upsetting thing to believe that human beings can show that much inhumanity to other human beings. So let's pray for a swift trial in Texas, a swift appeals process, and the death of these 3 predators. Bigoted, racist, white supremacist, white trash garbage. And we'll be back. On that note, News Talk 750, this is WSB. I hope.
Braves game?
No, there is no Braves game tomorrow night. You know that. You're a Braves fan. It's G. Gordon, Liddy, and me. An awful lot of reading. I'm doing an awful lot of reading about it.
Yeah.
2 months ago, Bob, I was on the air poo-pooing the whole thing.
Right.
I was saying that it was, all part of the conspiracy nonsense out there and what have you.
Uh-huh.
And that there's no way that we're going to face any sort of meaningful crisis just because of a date change.
Yep.
And I consider myself to be halfway reasonable. I mean, sure, I have some wild ideas, but the more I started reading, the more I started getting concerned about it. And then something occurred to me. That all of the experts out there, the computer experts, the business experts, the financial, everybody out there, I could not find one single knowledgeable person in the industry who would say that there was not going to be a problem. The only question is, how big is the problem going to be?
That's my question.
And then this has started to happen. Because my show and my website receive a great deal of attention in Washington, I'm starting to get phone calls from people in various branches of the government. And they are asking me, well, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? What are you going to put on your webpage? And you know what they're afraid of? It's as if these people know and understand that there's going to be a problem, but they're afraid that the public is going to find out about it.
That's what I've been thinking myself. I've been wondering why mainstream media hasn't had that much to say about it.
There was something on the internet today that at Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta, that they have done absolutely nothing at Hartsfield to prepare, to even begin to figure out whether or not they have a problem. According to this article I read on the internet today, Bill Campbell and his crowd are trying to decide whether or not to figure out whether they have a problem now or wait till next year. And even if they start trying to figure out while they have a problem now, it's too late. So, I don't know. I'll tell you this. And again, I'm not a conspiracy guy. I don't discuss conspiracy theories on the air and so forth and so on. But I'm trying to get ready to retire in a couple of years. So I've got some rather intense investments out there in 401k plans, in stock plans, trading this, trading that. And I am giving serious consideration to the idea of taking all of my assets and getting them out of financial institutions next year and into something that will retain its value in a financial shutdown.
I think that's a good idea, and if you'd keep us informed, we all would appreciate that.
Well, I will. There'll be much more to be said about it on the air, but I'm building files, and I'm just trying to add to my own knowledge base before I go spouting off on the air. But I think we're facing a serious problem. It is definitely going to be a problem. Do you know that I am told, I don't know, the FAA didn't tell me this, but there is a plan on the books at the FAA to shut down the nation's air traffic on January the 1st of 2000 if it becomes necessary to do so because of a failure of their computers. Now think about that. The FAA has a contingency plan for shutting down air traffic. So what does that do? That means that next year, when people are starting to make vacation and holiday travel plans, that nobody is going to make any reservations to go anywhere over New Year's on the airlines. And that's going to put the airlines into a holiday. I mean, just think of the ripple effect of things like that happening. If the people believe that the air traffic system may be shut down on January the 1st, 2000, then nobody's going to make airline reservations.
That's true.
And think how that ripples out into our economy with all of the nation's airlines effectively shut down because people don't have the confidence to get on them and go fly.
And I've heard other things about the banks too. They're having problems. I mean, it's all over the economy.
It's a fascinating topic. Think of this one. Various estimates on non-compliance with the IRS. Okay, now the IRS computers will by current estimates from the government, they will not be ready for the year 2000. This means possibly that the IRS will not be able to process tax returns. It also means they will not be able to process tax refunds. Now, the people in this country next year, especially self-employed people who have to report their taxes on a quarterly basis, if they get the idea that the IRS is behind the 8 ball and that their computers can't process tax returns and can't process their quarterly payments and what have you, guess what? They're not going to make those payments. So the estimates are that as there will be a 20%, at least a 20% non-compliance factor with the Internal Revenue Service. 20% of the taxpayers out there saying, screw this, I'm not going to pay. Okay, so then the government falls short of revenue because of this, the lack of quarterly returns and everything. So the revenue picture for the federal government starts to go into the toilet. What happens then? Do they still print Social Security checks? Are they printing veterans benefit checks? Are they printing military retirement paychecks? Are they printing paychecks for government employees? The government starts to run out of money because of the non-compliance factor. I mean, they say they can't even cut government spending by 1%. What happens when revenue goes down by 20%? And then all of a sudden people saying, well, damn, do they have enough money in the FDIC to insure my bank account? Maybe they don't. Maybe I better get my money out of the bank. And then just the ripple effect throughout it could be an incredible scenario.
We could be in a heap of trouble.
Well, we could be. But I don't want to be an alarmist here, but by the same token, I don't want to be caught asleep at the damn switch on January 1st, 2000 when this hits the fan.
You don't want to be an alarmist, but be a realist anyway. There's possibilities or something.
It's a good point, Bob, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I want to be real about this. I want to read and gather as much information. I am in contact with the Y2K project at the White House. Janet Abrams up there is working for the guy that's running that, and I'm going to try to learn as much as I can. I don't want to scare the hell out of people, but if there's a problem, hey, that's one of the things that talk radio does.
Must be awake.
Okay.
Hey, Neal, thanks a lot, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I appreciate it. But there are people. I mean, the non-compliance, the non-compliance with the IRS could be a problem. Non-compliance with the IRS. 20%. What if it's 30%? Self-employed people saying, screw it, I'm not paying anymore. Self-employed people are generally at the higher end of the income scale, too, folks. That's a significant amount of the taxes. And then the government doesn't have the operating cash it needs, to go out and handle current obligations. Then, of course, to stay afloat, what's the government going to start doing? Maybe it'll have to start printing money or borrowing very, very heavily. Back into debt, starting an inflationary cycle, maybe a hyperinflationary cycle. What's going to happen to the stock market? Treasury bills, savings bonds. It's the scenarios. Just because computer programmers 20 years ago and 30 years ago, when they were writing the code for these computers. When I got my first computer, other than a dedicated word processor, what have you, it didn't have a hard drive in it. All of my legal documents and files and everything had to be saved on 5 1/4-inch floppy disks and backed up because those things fail. Then I got a computer one time. I got a computer, a 3086 or something like that had a 250 megabyte hard drive. Oh, wow. I mean, was I impressed with 250 megabytes? But you know what? I had to make a conscious decision on what I was and was not going to store on that hard drive and what programs I can install, because that's not a hell of a lot of memory. And then I got a computer that had a 1 meg hard drive. And even there I learned, because I store so many of the documents I use for reference, even there I learned, hey, maybe I can't afford to store this document. It's not that important. Maybe I should erase this word processing file. It's not that important because of limited storage space. Now my newest computer is 4 gigs hard drive. So right now I say, okay, I got all the memory I need, but maybe not. Now, way back when I got my first computer with that 250 megabyte hard drive, even before that, these computer programmers were out there writing the computer code that operates their computer systems, whether it's for a credit card company or the Internal Revenue Service or the Treasury Department or the Defense Department or the Bank of America or Citibank or what they were writing. And they had a limited amount of storage to store their programs. So they were saving space everywhere they could. One of the ways to save space is to refer to a year by only 2 digits. 72, 73, whatever it was they were writing these things. The turn of the century seemed so far away. Oh, by then we'll have new programs. Oh, by then we'll have new computers. But it didn't happen. They didn't get the new programs. They didn't write the new programs. They didn't get the new computers. They're still running on those old ones with the same operating systems. So now, in order to get by January the 1st, 2000, they've got to go back into all of those lines of code they wrote. And they have to change all of those lines of code so that they will handle 4-digit years, not just 2 digits. Because when it goes to 00, those computers aren't going to know where the hell they are. And they shut down. Some banks, some credit card companies have as many as 400 million lines of code to go through individually, with some guy sitting at a computer with a keyboard looking, okay, here's my next line of code. Is there a date reference or a date connection or a date association there? No, fine. Click, next line of code. 400 million of these things to go through. And it's not going to be finished. The Treasury Department isn't going to be finished. They admit it. They will not be finished. They write the checks. And I think it's a problem. I just don't know how big a one. I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, Neil, just 2 brief things about Pat Robertson.
Yeah.
First thing is his private lifestyle and his extravagance. I know for a long time he's been a devotee of a horse training method called dressage. He loves to keep horses.
Oh, really? I didn't. He's a dressage guy, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Dressage, folks, is that is a horse show, a horse method where you are riding the horse and you make the horse do different things without any visual or oral audio input. I mean, you are giving the horse commands, but they're so subtle and so slight that you can't even see them. Am I right about that?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
The second point is, do you remember several years ago when he tried to put his hat in the ring for the Republican nomination?
Yeah.
There was something that came up while he was in the Marine Corps. He had actually called his father to get him out of the Marine Corps.
Oh, I remember that, but I can't remember the details.
That was part of the thing that problem came up with him. Also, he threw his hat in the ring at a bad time because that's when all the other TV ministers started going sour. Jim Baker, Jimmy Swaggart, and all that.
I don't remember the details, but wasn't he in Korea or something? And
yeah, he was.
Yeah, and some strings were pulled to get him out of the military because it didn't agree with him or something.
Yeah, I think he was either a second lieutenant or a first lieutenant in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe it's time to. I think Pat Robertson is dangerous enough. Here's a guy that's saying we're going to get hit by meteors because of gay people. What a jerk.
Well, if it happens, it might be something to it, but I don't think the man's a prophet.
You see, he's covered himself now. Hurricanes, terrorist bombs, tornadoes, and meteors. So if there's a hurricane this summer, he can say, see, it's those fags. If there's a meteor or a terrorist bomb or a tornado, they thought they knew what to blow. Yeah, he's got himself covered. Anything that happens now, he can blame it on gay people.
Hey, Neil.
Yeah.
You remember Hurricane Hugo?
Sure.
You ever look at the tracks that Hurricane Hugo ran? It hung a left and took out Jim Baker's old place in North Carolina.
Sounds, yeah, it did, didn't it? That sounds like a Yeah, a good idea to me. 872-0750 is the number, ladies and gentlemen. News Talk 750 WSB. Let me look through Neal's news. I'm really anxious to get to this Atlanta Constitution editorial today, where they are just, the editorial writer, Cynthia Tucker, and her crowd are so upset over the idea that people might believe that they have a right to own guns for the purpose of engaging in a revolt against the government. And they say that's not a mainstream idea. That can't become a mainstream idea. That's the viewpoint of a fringe group. Let me identify what fringe group that they're talking about. We'll do that in just a couple of seconds here on the Neal Boortz Show. That'll be coming up after the news.
Hurricanes will smite the city that hosted last weekend's Gay Days, and he says the widespread practice of homosexuality will bring about terrorist bombs, earthquakes, tornadoes, and possibly a meteor. Citing Scripture, America's largest Protestant denomination says women should submit graciously to their husbands. The Southern Baptist Convention also has revised its statement of beliefs to define marriage as the union of one man and one woman. Washington, D.C., a lot nicer than you may think, says Money Magazine. Add in the suburbs, and it qualifies as the best big city to live in the East. The Dow is down 12. You're listening to ABC News.
So I'm good at shipping lobsters. I know them like the back of my hand.
We monitored the lights in the substations. We monitored the opening of a door with these computers, and they still do. So, it could shut down a central office in a telephone company if things aren't closely monitored.
Well, it is a fascinating fascinating thing to read about. I'm splitting my time between reading about the Y2K problem and a sudden obsessive interest I have developed in Mount Everest. Don't ask me why.
Well, in 1980, I went out and got an honest job. I'm a commissioned salesperson now.
Oh, there you go. That is perhaps one of the most honest jobs. Hey, thanks, Guy.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
No, liberals by a long shot. They own businesses. They have pension plans. They like the idea of freedom. They're tired of being oppressed by too much government. And then the Senate Majority Leader just chases them right onto the other side. Amazing. 872-0750. That's the number. Neal Boortz, News Talk 750 WSB. Back to the phones in just a moment. TV the other night, he was announcing some horse race results, and his dentures flew out on live TV, just plopped right down there on the table in front of him. Dentures flew out there. There's something that's never happened to Monica.
Good as it gets.
Yeah.
Because, you've got your fundamentalists and you've got your moderates. And I think you're kind of being unfair to the moderates.
Well, I'm talking about the Southern Baptist Convention. Now, what are they?
You can be a moderate and still be part of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Well, hey, they're the ones that adopted this. The wife must submit to the leadership of her husband. Nonsense.
Following that same theory, it means that accepting what Bill Clinton says because he's in office as being the word of the land.
No, but I'm sorry, sir. The entire Southern Baptist Convention they voted on this and accepted it. The messengers voted on it and accepted it. That's quite a bit different than the president of the Southern Baptist Convention saying this is the way. This was a proposal that was debated and voted on and accepted. So if Baptist women have to submit to the leadership of their husband, I think they ought to get their husband's permission before they go on talk radio.
And come on, Neal, you're taking that out of context, and you know it.
How am I taking it out of context?
Because you're taking one statement of a verse out of the Bible, and you're not taking the whole.
No, I'm taking the statement that I'm taking the resolution that they passed last week. What does submit mean? I think the word submit is pretty clear. The word leadership is pretty clear. I think we all know the definition of wife and husband. Wife, submit, leadership, husband. Where's the context that I'm missing?
The four words that you pull out of the whole statement that was presented as the proposal.
Where's the context I'm missing?
Neal, you pulled out several
listen, you've said you're repeating yourself. I'm asking you to tell me what I am missing here. What don't I get?
Well, you also have to consider the fact that the man is supposed to love the woman as he loves himself.
That's a completely different issue.
No, it's not.
Besides, you're wrong. It's not. He's supposed to love the woman as Christ loved the church. That does not change the fact that the woman is supposed to submit to his leadership. Those are two different elements.
Okay, I guess you're right. There shouldn't be any team leadership such as on a baseball team. Just let everyone make their own decisions and go that way.
I'm going along with it. I'm not, now you're arguing.
We need the president of the United States to just let everyone make their own decisions.
Typical, hey, brilliant argument. I'm going along with it. You know, maybe if the Baptist women had submitted to their husband's leadership in the last presidential election, we wouldn't have to be dealing with Bill Clinton. Because there's a man that never would have become president of the United States if it hadn't been for the fact that so many women in this country would like to go to bed with him, that find him so sexy with such a wonderful head of hair. That tied to the fact that women in this country are far more prone than men to sacrifice freedom for security. Maybe this whole idea of women submitting to the leadership of their husbands would be good. Maybe, tell me this, does submitting to the leadership of your husband mean that you're supposed to vote the way your husband tells you to vote? Hey, I'm starting to like this thing. But dear, I want security. And they're offering me all this security and this government child care and health care. And, well, dear, I'm sorry, but you must submit to my leadership. Yes, they're offering you security, but they're taking away freedoms in return. Is that what you... But, dear, he has such a wonderful head of hair, and I'd just like to screw him. So, I'm sorry, dear, but you cannot do that. You must submit to my leadership. You must not vote for this man. Hey, I'm beginning to like the idea. Hey, it might be a good idea. If the Southern Baptists had jumped on this a couple of years ago, we might not be dealing with this corrupt criminal in the White House. 872-0750, Steve in Roswell. How you doing, Steve?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
Okay. So,
I tell you what, you get on this guy, you got to realize he's from Mississippi. You know? he and his buddies were driving through Alabama the other day. Trent was driving. They were running out of gas. And his buddy said, no, said, go a little further. Said, there's a station up here that says free sex with gas. So they made it to that station, and they pumped the gas full. Went inside. The guy said, there's one problem. I said, you have to guess a number between 1 and 10. And so Trent said, 7. The guy said, no, it's 5. He said, oh, give me another chance. So Trent said, 8. He said, no, I told you the number's 5. So they went back out and got in the car, and Trent looked over his buddy, and he said, man, this has got to be fixed.
You better hurry with this now.
His buddy said, no. He said, my wife won twice last week. That's your Trent Lott.
Well, you know, I don't want to slam everybody from Mississippi, but this what really galls me about Trent Lott is that the Republican Party seems perfectly willing to just chase every gay American, every homosexual male, every lesbian female, to chase them right across to the Democratic Party by comparing them to drunkards and comparing them to thieves and saying that they need help and they're sinners and they're sick and what have you. Why are they willing to write off so many votes? What do they have to gain from that?
He's 2 bricks short of a load.
Well,
there's something wrong. I'm not a Trent Lott man. I wish somebody else was over in the Senate that could handle it.
Well, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they were. They just chase all those people. What is it with you people out there that you just can't stand the fact that somebody out there might have a different sexual orientation than you do? What effect does that have on your life? None. It has no effect on your life at all. But you just as in so many other areas of a person's personal life, you just have to go out there and get involved in this one too. You don't think these gays and lesbians aren't concerned about an overpowering and intrusive government, and they're not concerned about the Democratic Party's plans to raid their pension plans? And you don't think they care about that? You think...
I wonder that they say things like that when the government pretty much sanctions the same thing. A friend of mine who's married, who had 4 children, wanted to have a hysterectomy when she had her 4th child. And she couldn't have one because her husband had to give approval. But he could go anytime.
And get a vasectomy.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on.
I'm not aware of any law that says that a husband has to approve before a wife can get a hysterectomy.
Maybe not in Georgia, but in Mississippi there is.
Oh, Trent Lott territory. Really?
Yes.
Huh.
There's even a waiting period.
What, for husbands or?
For women. For the wives.
Well, obviously, I don't think I don't think the husband has a role in that decision.
I don't think so either. I mean, especially after 4 children, you know?
Yeah. So, but that's an insight, and I appreciate that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Tammy, right?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Bye.
Be good.
Okay.
Speaking of doctors, yesterday I told you that this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Canadian health plan that everybody was bragging about, so,
show you're asking for permission slips aren't independent Baptists.
Well, we ask them if they're part of the Southern Baptist Convention, they need the permission slip. If they're not, they don't. And if they want to lie to us, then that's between them and God. Doesn't that sound fair?
Well, actually, no, because the idea of the submission to the husband is different in every family.
Well,
and others, it may be like you have to submit to your husband.
Well, fine. Well, that's between the wife and the husband. If the wife wants to go on the air here and talk on talk radio, and if she is a Southern Baptist, then she should get her husband's permission before she gives us a call.
Why do you need the permission?
Because I'm trying to do my bit to help these women and these men adhere to the doctrine of the Southern Baptist Church. I'm trying to be the good guy here. Don't criticize me. I'm trying to be the good guy. I'm trying to make sure these women don't tick their husbands off.
But you're saying that everybody's as orthodox as the Southern Baptist Convention when they're not.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I am just stating that women who call up, if they are Southern Baptists and they are married, they...
Imagine the reaction of gay groups. They say he needs education. Majority Leader Lott needs to be educated, they say. You're listening to ABC News.
A little letter to Trent Lott, sent it to him by email and read it to you on the air yesterday, in which I said, hey, thanks a pantload for chasing even more voters over to the Democratic Party. Well, yeah, after that, perhaps as many as 40 or so of the 200 email messages that I got after the show yesterday, perhaps as many as 40 of them were addressing this issue, and most of those, I got a couple of letters from gay men and women who were conservative in their political outlook that said, this is exactly why I can't vote for a Republican, this is why I go libertarian, so forth and so on. I got a few of those. But for the most part, what I got was letters from people quoting Bible scripture. And there was one common thread that ran through all of these letters. One common thread. This is without exception, folks. All of these people were telling me what I should believe and what Bible scripture I should be basing my beliefs on. Very few of these people told me what they believe. And that's the whole problem. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. You should read this. You should believe this. You should treat these people that way. You should treat those people this way. But none of these people were telling me what they believe. None of these people were telling me how they conduct their lives. None of these people were telling me how they treat other people. They were all using their emails to tell me what I should do. And I can only wonder what incredible adventures would await me if these people ever actually succeeded in their quest to harness the power of government. through organizations such as the Christian Coalition and what have you. What would happen if they were successful in getting the power of government on their side? What would happen if they actually had that one asset that government has that nobody else has? The ability to use force. Right now, these people are writing me email letters telling me what I should do, what I should read, what I should believe, how I should treat certain people. But if they had the power to use force, if they had or were successful in harnessing the power of government to promote and advance their agenda, then the instructions would not be what I should do. The instructions would be what I will do. You will read this. You will accept this. You will believe this. You will treat these people this way. You will treat those people that way. You could see it in their letters. None of these people that wrote me these hate-filled letters about homosexuals and about me, none of them wanted to tell me how they live their lives. None of them wanted to tell me how they live their lives as a testament to Christ or as an example of a good Christian. They all wanted to tell me how I should live my life. And folks, you give these people, you vote for their candidates, you continue to allow them to organize and take over political parties like the Republican Party. They haven't taken it over, but they're damn strong. And the day may come when they actually can get out there, and instead of telling you what you should be doing, they will be telling you what you will be doing. And they have no qualms about this. They have no qualms at all about telling you, you will live your life this way, you will believe this, you will believe that, you will treat these people that way, you will treat those people this way. They have no... I'm not saying that. People believe that just because I have criticisms of Pat Robertson and the Christian Coalition and what have you, that means that I am criticizing all Christians. Where does that idea come from?
Well, I'm not accusing you of that, and don't get me wrong. I have never heard you criticize Christians per se as a group. I've never heard that. I would not accuse you of that. I just wanted to make it a point, though, that some of the people that you quote and use as references in Christian positions or Baptist positions, again, don't speak for everyone.
Oh, I know that. I absolutely know that. I mean, during the time of the Crusades, during the time of the Spanish Inquisition, those people that were murdering and torturing, they weren't representing all of the Catholics or all of the Christians of that era.
Well, let me show you a tip, because you mentioned specifically this morning that you had 40 emails yesterday. Most of them, I mean, of course you didn't read them, but I would guess...
Oh, I did read them, sir. I did. Well, and they were sitting there comparing them to drunkards and thieves.
And for some reason, he thinks that in his position of leadership, that's what the public is asking for. Because, I mean, let's face it, these guys, they're going to say what they feel is called upon by their constituents to get those next votes.
Well, you're right. And then what do they do when they have them? That's what concerns me. I appreciate it. Good call, and I hope we got some things straightened out there. 872-0750. 2000, the Millennium Bug. First of all, somebody at a conference recently, a United Nations conference, asked a diplomat from a foreign country, what are you people doing about the Y2K bug? And he responded, if we find any, we'll spray for them. That's how up to speed some of these people are. But anyway, there's a big room inside of a mountain in Colorado. It's called the headquarters for the North American Air Defense Command. This is a big room. It's a cave. It's supposed to be It's supposed to be protected against direct nuclear hits and this and that and the other thing. And they sit in this big room in this big cave. And they watch computer monitors and computer screens for such things as, well, for instance, an indication that maybe somebody has launched a missile against the United States that might have nuclear warheads on it, or that some country is sending a bunch of large aircraft across the North Pole or across the American borders, and they may have weapons on it. This is where we get our first indication of a nuclear strike against the United States. And some people would tell you that it's even more serious now than it used to be, because so many of those nuclear weapons are in the hands of people that, believe it or not, weren't as stable as the Soviet government. Well, they decided to run a test on the computers at NORAD. They ran this test in 1993. They set all the computers so that they would turn midnight, December 31st, 1999. And guess what happened in that room when midnight struck? When we get back from this newscast, I'll fill you in. I'll give you the blanks and some other Y2K news. And to engage in consensual sexual conduct with who they want to. You know, and we're talking about basic freedom. Somebody has a sexual orientation and they want to engage in sexual activity with somebody based on their sexual orientation. And you people out there decide that they should be prevented from doing so or punished if they do. And when I defend basic freedom here, and you people, so many of you really, really just go off the deep end. You would not believe the email that I get when I go on the air and suggest that homosexuality is perfectly normal sexual behavior for a homosexual. It is just as normal for them to engage in homosexual activity as it is for you to engage in heterosexual activity. And the hatred that you people pour out, just the absolute hatred, and it just reinforces my fear. You people are scary. You're just frightened. Okay, NORAD, North American Air Defense Command. They're Cheyenne Mountain. I forget. Royal, you were raised in the military. What's the name? Is it Cheyenne Mountain up there or something like that?
Actually, we never stationed anywhere over there.
You never? Yeah, it is. It's Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado. Deep in that mountain is where they have the headquarters. So they decided in 1993, they decided to test their computers. So they took their computers and they set them for something like 11:59 or 11:45, December 31st, 1999, and then they just let the computers run to see what would happen when it clicked over to midnight. And you know what happened? All of those monitors that they watch to see if there's any missiles or any bad stuff headed toward, they all went blank. When that thing clicked over to January the 1st, 2000, the place shut down. Everything froze at midnight. Since that time, you know, they obviously said, we got a problem here, and they've been working on it. There are 2,803 mission-critical computer systems in the Defense Department. They've identified 2,803 mission-critical computers. These are computers that, if they are not working, the United States military would not be able to carry out its mission. And so far, they have 812 of those computers fixed for the Y2K thing. The rest of them are 4 months behind schedule. There's only 18 months to go. And there's also some sort of amusing stories about the year 2000 Millennium Bug. Chrysler Corporation ran a test of its year Y2K solutions at an assembly plant last year. They ran a test. They thought they had it fixed, so they ran a test. At the stroke of midnight, the security system was shut down. It shut down the entire security system to this manufacturing plant, which meant all the doors were locked and nobody could leave. Nobody could get out. The Y2K bug locked everybody in the Chrysler plant, and they had to sit there and debug it and manually open all these doors so that workers could go home. And then Phillips Petroleum ran a simulation on one of their oil vessels, one of their oil tankers in the North Sea. They ran a computer test, a Y2K test, It shut down every safety system on that oil tanker. There would have been no way to detect any leaks of oil, any gas, hydrogen sulfide, nothing. Shut down the entire safety systems on the whole ship. And, folks, it's going to be fun. December 31st, 2000. Well, actually, it's going to hit the fan a long time before the December 31st, 1999, because people are going to start to get spooked. They're going to start to get spooked, and I think that we're going to see some real bad acting going into the New Year's. Primarily, one of the prime things I think is people are going to be pulling money out of banks.